Right, well, good morning, one and all. Welcome once again to the Good Morning Walk. Well, it's been a fun week. Sorry I didn't do a live stream on Wednesday. Thought I was a horse then. No, it was a pole. Chthonic early. Well, it is, get in early, That's what you need to do. Get in there early, get in there quick, to say. But yes, good morning. One and all. Good morning, Chthonic. Good morning, Cathal OG. Oh. Kaleidope, good morning to you. Yes, welcome. Sorry, I was hoping this weekend was actually going to be quite a nice weekend, but it's actually not. It's actually, to be honest, I could have done with certainly a thicker coat on this. But yes, welcome to a very nice, as usual, good morning walk through the South Yorkshire countryside, as we talk about, obviously, the week that was in politics and things indeed going forward, and what indeed might happen in our, shall we say, wonderful political current system that we're in. Because next week things could be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. But before we get talking about what's going to happen next week, let's just briefly cover some of the stuff that happened last week. Obviously, Monday, Boris went to Northern Ireland to essentially, and effectively gave "Do It for the Kipper" speech, which didn't really work because, as he was told by pretty much everyone who was there, including the DUP, don't bother coming over to Northern Ireland unless you've actually got a solution to the problem. And of course, the DUP were asking for a very, very different solution to a different problem compared to everyone else. Host John 125, good morning to you. So there was that, and of course that failed, and Boris basically did his usual Johnsoning around, went to see some factories, got some, nice photo opportunities, but effectively did nothing, shall we say, to help resolve the situation that was going on in Northern Ireland at the moment. And of course, very much the entire situation around Northern Ireland is entirely focused on the very deal he himself and David Frost negotiated. I think, I can't remember who exactly said it. I think it might have been a member of the Stormont Parliament for Sinn Féin. Might have even been the leader. Basically said, "Look, your fingerprints are all over this deal. What are you on about?" And of course, very much this deal sold as being, the answer to everything. This deal solves and gets Brexit done. So that was Monday, at least. And of course, the following day, Liz Truss gets up in the House and gives her speech, saying that the UK government is going to introduce a bill next week at some point about how it intends to basically, by itself, alter the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, of course, you can't do this by yourself. Anything that to be really negotiated in this needs to be done by both sides. You need to negotiate it together. Oh, crew live stream. Greetings, good morning to you, sir. So, yeah, this is, this is the situation that we're in. Not only that, but the current, shall we say, person in charge of our law, the government's top lawyer, Shamina, I can't remember her name now, Shamina, I think it is, basically said that, oh yes, this is entirely legal for the government to do. At which point, everyone went, well, if it's legal, can you actually tell us why you think it's legal? Can we have this legal expert advice that you've taken on and that you are constantly referring to, that this advice you are saying that you have received tells you everything you are about to do is perfectly legal? Who is saying this to you? And of course, they've been saying all week that they are going to release this, shall we say, this legal scholars' magical writings that somehow we can invalidate an international treaty between two parties and basically unilaterally alter a treaty by ourselves. The rumor is, I don't know how true this is, of course, I'm sure we'll find out very soon, is that apparently this legal advice has come from a former Trump lawyer. How true that is, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we'll find out soon. So, Derek, can just imagine all the Northern Ireland farmers and fishing industry not sending their produce to the public for further processing before exporting it to Britain for consumers. Oh, Prinny Bird, greetings to you. Good morning. Jay, coups are perfectly legal according to our dearest friends, the Republicans. Yes, very true. Indeed, did like a Trump lawyer pretty much write out an entire justification for Trump of, this is how you steal the election. This is what you have to do to steal an election. So yeah, if that's true, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing it. Suva Bravo, that's it, yes. That's the name. Oh, Mitch, good morning to you. Joe, good morning to you. Susan O'Neill, the cough is finally gone yet. Mitch, yes, that's right. They did write a game plan to steal out the election. So this is where we are at. And that was only Tuesday. That was only Tuesday. On Wednesday, of course, Johnson had to face PMQs, very, very much about the situation in Northern Ireland, saying, hey, this is your deal. What on earth are you doing about it? And got absolutely, got absolutely slaughtered. Ed Miliband, of all people, and I've said this before, I gave Ed Miliband back in the day a lot of stick for not doing, a lot of stuff. But I'll tell you what, since then, Ed Miliband has come on in leaps and bounds. And I've said this now, can we have Ed Miliband, please, as our leader? I think, he's sort of come on and progressed a lot since then. And I've, quoted him before as saying, Labour needs to be more bold and not afraid in its, courage of convictions to be able to, take actions. And, it shouldn't tinker around the edges. It should, dive in and get its hands, its hands dirty. It should be like I can't remember what his quote was exactly now, but I think he said something like, a surgeon doesn't just, open and close the body. That's it. They need to, get their hands in and, start, tinkering around and doing stuff. So would certainly be interesting if, Ed Miliband came back. I'd be quite interesting and pleased about that. It'd be quite fun. But yes, of course, as we are sort of here at the moment, yes, please do remember to hit that like and share button. Like I say, it gets more people in. So, remember to that as you are just sitting down and coming in. It'll be massively helpful to the channel. Like I say, we get more people in. So that was sort of Wednesday. Thursday, not a lot really happened. And then we get to Friday, where once again, Truss has on and off been threatening all week, I'm going to trigger Article 16, I'm going to introduce this bill. We don't know what's in this bill at the moment. Again, still not had that legal advice released. Oh yes, we also missed out. We've also heard the Tories are now fully intending to essentially get rid of, quote, the Blairite Human Rights Act. So that was also another thing that happened this week. Mitch, yes, you are right. Haven't they always been triggering to affect Article 16? Yes, this is why I'm very, very sceptical of Liz Truss actually doing anything, because this is exactly what David Frost did all the time. I'm going to trigger Article 16, guys. I mean it this time. I'm really going to trigger Article 16. I really mean it this time, guys. If you don't give us what we want, I'm going to trigger Article 16. And of course, he never, ever would. Because as has been constantly explained, especially this week, if you do this, you will trigger a trade war. One that Britain cannot win, They cannot win in this trade war at all whatsoever. So that's why he was very much kept away from triggering this, from triggering Article 16, certainly when he was in charge of negotiations. And it's really difficult to say whether or not this will happen. Like I say, we'll find out next week. But as I said, just as I said this week when we were talking about it, will it get through the House of Commons? We don't know. It does appear that there would certainly be a significant enough Tory backbench rebellion not to let this pass. And almost certainly, if it did pass the House and it went into the House of Lords, which, again, I've said a number of times, I really don't like the House of Lords, but I'll tell you what, sometimes I'm really glad we've got them, because it seems to be sometimes the only place where serious, actual discussion, about topics seems to happen. So we'll definitely have to see, what happens there. But of course, the Lords will never let it through. The Lords would never ever let something like that through. That was their main reason for, back in the day, with a lot of the certainly the a lot of the previous Brexit bills we've seen, they've just said, well, we're not going to let that pass because that's breaking international law. That's breaking a lot of our treaties we hold sacrosanct. And as you saw this week as well, on Tuesday, there was a Tory who, again, as we said before, very sort of old school moderate Tory, got up and said, I can't believe I'm having to remind, the, my party that we don't break the rules, we don't break the law. And then, of course, he gave this, Margaret Thatcher quote about, the importance of law and order and how important it is for the government to follow the rule of law. So, so yeah, it's going to be a fun week next week. Going to be a fun one. Oh. Morning. Oh. Oh.
Come on, Vinny.
So yeah, going to be a fun one next week. Oh yes, and then we had on Friday as well what we expected to hear from America, of course. Last week, America had said that it was going to send over a congressional an envoy over to Northern Ireland, try and help sort this mess out, because America doesn't want to see certainly the Good Friday Agreement, crashed. Neither does Labour as well. So we've been very much following, of course, what's going to go on, in this situation. But it's, again, difficult to see what's going to happen, of course. Oh. We've got some ponies. Very much a pony parade there. They're all just waking up at the moment. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi, obviously Speaker of the House, very much came out and said, look, if you disrupt the peace... Now, I've got some folds there. I think some of these are, shall we say, new. That one in particular. I haven't seen him before. I haven't seen him before either. I've got you coming over. Some of those are definitely new, they say. But Nancy Pelosi came out and said exactly what we've been saying all along. Look, America is not going to tolerate us bullying Ireland, or us being seen to give Ireland the short shrift of things. Oh, Ben Ridings, good morning to you. You've just missed the pony parade. Oh, the Cora. Yes, did you see Nadine Dorris claim that respondents to the privatisation of Channel 4 were 96 in favour and had to be reminded that it was actually 96 against? Yes, I did. That was hilarious. And not only that, did you also see the claim that she made that apparently 36 Degrees had somehow altered the question? What do you mean? For those who don't know, 36 Degrees is it's like an online, essentially, campaign group, helps people, sign up, do petitions. It's quite good. Definitely worth checking out if you are in the UK. But the idea that 36 degrees can change what is effectively meant to be an official governmental, questionnaire is ridiculous. They don't have that power. you know 36 degrees are basically just a petition website where people can set up petitions and help with campaigns and do that. That's why they were set up. And yet Nadine Dorries seems to think that, according to her, actively interfered with an official governmental poll. So yeah, there was that. But that's another thing. They do certainly seem very, very much insistent on this drive to privatise Channel 4 for, well, no reason whatsoever. Again, doesn't really make sense. Yeah, yes, you are right there. Social gadfly. The Trump tariffs on steel. It certainly looks like, didn't they remove them for the EU but haven't removed them for us? And not only that, they could put on, oh, there we go, we're back. Oh. So there was talk of this week, of course, of one of the big things, certainly for the EU, if we did get into this trade war, that the EU would do sort of targeted tariff, shall we say, on sort of swing seats, especially trying to target the Tories, which would quite be very helpful if we did get into that. That would be quite helpful. Sort of remind people, of course, sort of the power the EU actually has compared to us, because again, in any trade war, guess what? It's the bigger economy that wins. We are not as big as economy as the EU, Oh, Patrick, good morning to you. So, yeah, this is going to be one of those it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very interesting week, because obviously we are expecting, now that the Partygate investigation is officially over and somehow Boris Johnson managed not to get another fine, despite the fact that there are other, as we know, civil servants and people in number 10 who have received more than one fine. So that's a thing. How he's managed to escape that, we don't know. But also, we can expect the Sue Gray report next week. When? We don't know. Yep, Bakura, you are right. We can't win we can't win a trade war with patriotic chest beating. All right, there. That's what they seem to think they can. And he's like, no, no. So the Sue Gray report, I think, is going to be certainly that one of the highlights of the week, when that, shall we say, fully comes out. What's going to be on it? What's going to be in it? Certainly going to be very, very interesting. Oh, I don't know if you can see them over there. Little baby Canadian geese. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see them there. There you go, you can see them there. Little Canadian baby geese. So yeah, it's very, very interesting, of course, what's going to be in that report. And I say what's in it because, as someone's beaten me to it in chat, a couple of weeks ago, there was, you know, after insisting that Sue Gray would be independent and it would be allowed to, you know, say what's in this report and, you know, ensure her that, you know, she's not pressured in any way or anything like that. There was a meeting between her and Boris Johnson a couple of weeks ago. Not a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago now. And of course, this has only just come out. And of course, people are saying, well, what went on in that meeting? What happened? And as someone has pointed out, Angela Rayner came out and said, you know, did Boris bring his own bottle of Tipex to that meeting on the report? But of course, the big one, of course, is all the Tories that have wanted to get rid of Boris. This could be their final chance, at least maybe for a while, to try and, you know, rally people round and not only get those letters in to have a vote of no confidence, but even then win the vote of no confidence after. Because I've always said it's not just those letters that they need to send, it's the vote afterwards they need to win as well. Oh, the Cora. Ball Hatman. Front of the Daily Mail is warning Johnson of reporting, telling him to fix the cost of living crisis or risk losing the next election. Well, they're not going to fix the cost of living crisis. I can tell you that now, Bakura. You know, Rishi Sunak has, I think he said this week, I think yesterday he might have said it, he's in no rush. He's in no rush to help people who are suffering from the cost of living crisis. You know? This is, again, part of the radical libertarian ideology that the Tory party have fallen for, or at least fallen to. And, you know, there are parts of the party who understand, you know, the need to help people because of the cost of living crisis. But the vast majority of them are saying, well, we don't need to help, you know, the worst off in society about this. We don't need to help them. And you're like, hold on, what do you mean? Why don't you need to help them? And again, this is so bizarre because in the local election, one of the things the Tories really, really wanted to try and stress and sort of find out was that their new coalition of people who voted for them, of what they have called the blue-collar working class, who are most being affected because of the cost of living crisis, they want to make sure that they have kept them. So the idea that they are going to sort of keep those voters at the next election is going to be laughable. This is why we've got what? I think 3 by-elections coming up. One in Wakefield we know about. And like I say, Labour sort of really have to win that and sort of have to hammer that home, hopefully. And then I think there's one down south where, again, the Lib Dems need to win it. So again, there's sort of moves coming forward to win that. And of course, there are other by-elections now possibly going to pop up in the near future because, again, another Tory was caught being a very, very naughty boy. Again, for those of you who know, I'm just being careful because of, again, YouTube's very censorious nature. So I'm just being careful, should we say, not to say exactly what he did. But needless to say, you can find out very easy if you quickly give it the old Google. Oh, Nico, hello to you. So, like I say, please do remember to, since we're having a quick break, please do remember to hit that like and share button. Like I say, it's always very sort of helpful, helps out the channel. And of course, if you want to support the channel a different way, there are links down below to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And like I say, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And of course, to all the people who do just click the, like or share button. Like I say, it's very, very helpful. Sort of the channel and does help us grow, shall we say. So, the cost of living crisis is going to be what defeats the Tories ultimately, because they've got no answers to it. They've got no answers to it. They've got no policy to actually help people. You've got Rishi Sunak making ridiculous excuses, saying, well, I could raise benefits, but I can't because of a technical reason. And that's not even a good excuse. That's pathetic. Oh, Miss Blase, good morning to you. Windfall tax makes sense. Yes, that is a big push that is going on. But again, I very much doubt the Tories are going to do it. Rishi Sunak basically came out and said, look, I'll only do a windfall tax if the energy companies don't invest all that profit that they've made into the UK. To which I have to say, how are you going to ensure that energy companies invest in the UK? They also came out and said this week, I can't remember if it was Sunak or Johnson, said that the way out of this, or the way out of this cost of living crisis, is for businesses to invest in their staff, invest in their business, and basically businesses need to do business better, which was pathetic. Businesses need to do business better. That's how we'll solve this crisis. Well, how about doing some policies that would enable those businesses to do better? Because one of the things we were talking about in the height of the pandemic was saying that, look at France, look at Germany, look at the Netherlands, who are all like setting out investments and business, recovery grants and loans for businesses once the pandemic is done and comes out. And by the way, pandemic not over, because guess what, guys? There's two more is it not Omicron? Two new variants, I think it's the Omicron, have been now discovered. So, it could get really bad, guys. I'm not joking when my biggest worry is we could go back to square one, and by that I mean back to square one of March, like 2020. That is my biggest worry. And yes, Paz News did also say it as well. Yes, the police officer that very much embarrassed Priti Patel. Again, that's a cost of living crisis scenario. How does she pay her? How is she going to pay her rent? Do all this stuff, and yet the Tories and Priti Patel will say, "Oh, I'm a massive fan of the police. I'm here to support the police," and yet doesn't really seem to be certainly showing her appreciation for the police at that moment in time. And of course, as we've always said, there's three real parts to sort of the justice system. You've got the police, which are sort of, crime prevention and, actively pursuing sort of the criminals. You then have the middle part, which is the justice side. So that's your prosecutors, your judges, which have been suffering for years. If you don't, I would follow the Secret Barrister on Twitter. Very, very good insight into just how bad that side of the justice system really is. And if the Tories were serious about being, again, the party of law and order, they would pump some serious money into that part, because it is literally falling apart. You want to talk about, NHS waiting times post-COVID? You want to look at the waiting times COVID has now caused in our justice system, of cases being delayed, of cases going back to 2017, still not being heard. So, yeah, big problem. And then, of course, you've got the prison side, which should also be forming a massive section of rehabilitation of that stuff. Oh, Chthonic, thank you very much. Welcome to the Pony Club, my friend. So yeah, there is there is this massive problem we have in this sort of sector and area, which again has been very much ignored. Hello from Ohio. Good evening to you, Rab Adler. Bakura. Ball hat man, what are you talking about? Priti Patel went by statutory instrument to overrule the police commissioners. Oh yes, of course, yeah, there was that as well. That is really worrying, because again, it looks like that is another massive Tory power grab. Again, we'll have to see what bill gets brought forward for Priti Patel to actually be able to use and essentially abuse that power. Again, very, very worrying that type of stuff has again been brought up and brought forward. But of course, this has been done, or at least the justification for it is being doing, is so that, quote, police commissioners don't get so political. Whatever that means, But again, I think it's just a very much an attempt to try and sort of get a bigger control, of course, of the police in this way, which again is quite worrying. So yeah, welcome to the UK, everyone. Oh. Yep, it is very true, Patrick. Very true. Yeah, Starmer's going to be continually investigated for his curry. Yeah, I think that's very much going to be the case, because remember, Durham. If you remember, one of the things about that was the Durham police already investigated it, and when that's not an issue, we've already investigated it. Doesn't know a law seem to have been broken here, and from urging by the government to reopen investigations to it and to essentially re-examine it. And of course, you've got Starmer's promise, hey, if I get fined, I'll leave. Which, again, brilliant political move, by the way, because if he resigns, first of all, it puts Johnson in an even more difficult position. There is also, as we talked about last week, the worrying threat about how long it can take to get a leader, at least a new leader in place put through, and the worrying case of Johnson, because again he's got rid of the Standing Parliament Act, means that he can now call an election anytime he wants, which is again very worrying. May decide to call one for this November, and if he does, well, that could be very, very worrying for the Labour Party indeed. And to be honest, if that happens, I think there's a case for just putting Ed Miliband in. I really, really do. Because you need someone at that point, if that happens, you need someone with, brand name recognition across the UK. You can't just stick in a nobody who the public sort of don't genuinely know. It is possible. But yeah, that's the situation we could very much be in, and it's very, very worrying to say the least. No, I didn't see. I saw he was trending recently, George Bush, but I didn't see he was that. I'll have to check that out when I get back. So overall, like I say, next week's going to be fun because, again, we've got the supposed bill being released for, Liz Truss basically attempting to break international law. That's coming out next week, and whatever is going to be in that bill, we don't know. We've then got the Sue Gray report being released at one point during the week, which could be quite... Oh, yes, Cathology. Thank you very much. Is the DUP getting new arresting powers? Yes, that's something else. Oh, God, again, so much is happening. And it's, that's worrying because this means that basically people on the front line are basically going to... Okay, so the justification for... We're going to actually explain the justification for why this is being brought in. So the justification, or at least why Theresa Coffey is doing this and giving DUP, essentially frontline officers, the ability to be able to arrest claimants, which they should not be given that power anyway, because it takes a lot of training and it puts them in a position that they are not trained for. That type of power and that power alone should be left to the police. So that's one very worrying point of that. The other point is, and this is why this is the justification, is the Tories love to say that there's all this benefit fraud, that there's hundreds of thousands of people who are, screwing over the system. But considering the fact that we have the lowest amount of benefits paid out in Europe, and given the fact that we have so many people in this country who are literally in a situation where if they are on benefits, they're not, living the high life on benefits, as the Tories seem to want to claim. But it's all this idea, and the reason why they're being given this is because, oh my God, there's all this benefit fraud. There's all this benefit fraud and crime. What's the DWP? Department of Work and Pensions. See, yeah, this is, and you are right, it does put the staff at risk because they're not trained to arrest people. That's not a power they should really have. That's more a police thing. Leave that kind of stuff up to the police, And remember, benefit fraud is incredibly rare. You are more, to see how rare it is, you are more likely to be struck by lightning than there is to of benefit fraud of happened. That's how rare a thing it is. But no, the Tories are convinced that benefit fraud is absolutely rampant on this. And yet there is no way in any way, shape or form should this bill be passed, this law be changed, the ability to give them this type of stuff. What on earth are they talking about? Again, now if they were to go after the COVID fraud, they would earn a whole heap of money. That is definitely for sure. Yeah, but again, giving them power to arrest, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like I say, you're putting people who aren't trained to perform that type of action in danger. And worryingly, of course, as we've said before, well, I don't know, we've never actually covered like benefits and like job centres, because worryingly, a lot of people who are in these sort of jobs are very, very much pressured to, sanction people. Currently, at the moment, in that, in that system, there is a really rigorous, system put in place by, again, the Tories, to basically be mean to people out of pure spite. Unfortunately, that's the case. You can go online, and there are people in that job speaking about their experiences, about how mean they have to be to people, because if they don't fill a particular quota, or have at least sanctioned X amount of people, they can get in a lot of trouble. But then they know that if they sanction this person, the guy who they're trying to help back into work, could end up in a far, far worse situation. They could lose the house. He might not be able to eat that month. They have on purpose created a system to be as nasty and as mean as possible. And it's not how it should be. It's not how it should be at all. The people who are on these, on benefits need help. They don't need, this more stress in their life. If they, walk into a job centre and they can't prove that they've been searching for a job for, that's one of the other bizarre things about our benefit system. If a claimant goes into the job centre, they've got to prove that they've been searching for a job for at least 37 hours a week. So they've got to do, or got to be able to prove that to their advisor. If not, the advisor will sanction them. And that's the, yes, wait, they are actually required to sanction people. Yes, because they are. They're on quotas for this. Like I say, look up some of the stories. I think there's a Reddit. I'm sure there's a Reddit thread about it, about people who work on the front line, with benefit claimants, telling their stories about what's happened and what's going on. And yet we have treated these people as almost as if, they're living the high life on benefits. Again, look how much these people on benefits get paid. It's nothing. it's really really nothing. And even then, there's been a cap put on. This is the other crazy thing. There's been a cap put on over how much these people on benefits can actually receive. So if you need, let's say you're entitled to all these benefits and you reach this cap, then essentially the government will turn around and just go, whoops, sorry, no more benefit payments for you this year, even though you might need that money. Oh, draconic drips, yeah. I was told as a universal credit claimant that they assign appointments, that if you're working and you're not expected to attend, so that's a sanction is triggered, but it's a non-attendance with good cause. Yeah, that's the universal credit is insane. It's absolutely insane when you look at the rules and regulations that have been put in place over it. And to be honest, it's something that we haven't really talked about on this channel before, because I'm not going to lie, some of the rules and regulations around like universal credit, or even just applying for universal credit, is so Byzantine, it doesn't make sense. And yet this is the system the government has, so it makes it as hard as possible so people can't claim them. I mean, I remember when I left university, years and years ago, over 10 years ago now, I signed on before I, got my sort of, first job. I remember doing that. And I remember going to the job centre in Barnsley, about, 2011, something like that. It was the most depressing place I could ever think of going, But I got a job, and, I'm sort of here I am where I am now. But yeah, I remember the scenes. I remember hearing all types of stuff when I was in there. People talking with their work advisors about the situations they were in, and you hear this stuff, and it's like, if it was that bad back then in 2011, I would hate to go in there today and see what it's like and hear what it's about and like over there. As we've said it a lot of times, this year is going to be incredibly hard for a whole lot of people. Cost of living crisis, energy crisis, the fact that the Tories are just going to do nothing about all this, of course, is incredibly worrying, as always. Makura, I went to the job centre when I was first in a new scheme to help disabled people. We left as it involved even more work on us, and at home from there, it didn't help disabled people with autism. Yeah, disabled people have it even worse, and that's what, to be honest, shocks me. If you think you've got it bad as someone who's been, out of work or something like that and has had to sort of rely on benefits, you've got it even worse if you are disabled or have any type of disability. They've got it, 10 times worse, because, as we've said, the government have made it even harder. And there are stories out there of people who basically are disabled and have been told, if you do not go to this job in a warehouse, you will lose your benefits. And they're telling someone who is disabled, who can't work in that environment. It's something I think we need to talk about more on this channel, but it's something that doesn't get a lot of, to be honest, news coverage, and something, to be honest, I think I need to cover a bit more, but it does need certainly a lot of investigating and sort of looking into sort of what's going on in that area, because honestly, when you look into like the system and how it is, it's truly shocking. It really is. And you know, I do not know how someone in this situation looks at this moment, how they're going to cope at this. I really don't know. I really don't know how they're going to cope on this. So Paz News UBI, yes, true. We do need UBI. That is very true. But I think we're still a bit of a long way off from UBI. Although, as I've said, I don't know if I think I mentioned this maybe a couple of weeks ago. Wales is doing a UBI pilot scheme, and it's actually the biggest pilot scheme of UBI done to date, not only just here in the UK but around the world. So when that comes out, I think it might be a while before we see any results of it. I'll be very interested to see sort of what the results are. But if you've looked at any of the other UBI studies or trial runs when they tried this, the results were incredibly positive when they brought this in. So, and of course, we've just gone through COVID, where pretty much everyone was having, UBI anyway. So, that would actually be quite interesting if we saw a look into sort of the pandemic years and people on UBI, how they, altered their sort of their living, whether it's, whether their standard of living went down or up during UBI. That would be quite interesting, I think, to look at. But I don't know if there's any data to have a look at in that. Nope. So, yes, as always, thank you all very much for coming out again today, this morning on the Good Morning Walk. Thank you very much for joining us on the Good Morning Walk. Again, the weather hasn't been certainly as it was good earlier this week. It's quite cold, to be honest. Like I say, I wish I was wearing something a little bit warmer at the moment. But as always, thank you very much again for joining me today on the Good Morning Walk. Like I say, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves on this. I will see you hopefully next weekend on the Good Morning Walk. Have a good weekend. Have a super smashing fun, great weekend. As always, if you can't be safe, be sensible. But yes, do go out, enjoy yourselves. Please do remember, be safe. The pandemic is still a thing. So be careful, be safe out there. But as always, enjoy yourselves. Keep yourselves safe. And yeah, watch out for some more videos that come out this weekend. Like I say, I'll see you next weekend for a sort of midweek video. As always, we've got videos coming out, of course, the rest of the week. So remember, please do hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, Waking Well, Buy Me Coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all the people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, we'll see you all next time.